During the course of this week, I've been talking to a lot of City fans, older City fans particularly, who are in isolation. So I'm very well aware of what's going on in the world at the moment. So I do this vlog as a bit of escapism, I hope, the Forever Blue vlog. And of course, it's involved me not being in direct physical contact with anybody. The people who've volunteered to take part in today's vlog are all around the world. Actually, it shows how big the City fans are in terms of the City family. So thanks very much to everybody that's contributed to this vlog. The plan will be that if you like this and you want more, then we'll do another one next week. This vlog is about memories of 93-20, of that great game when Sergio Aguero scored the goal. I was commentating for the BBC. More on that a little bit later on when you see Nigel Gleghorn, who was sat alongside me. These are memories of people and how they felt at that particular time. Obviously, you'll know that I can't put footage of the game in here because of copyright reasons, but I hope it brings back a few memories about the pure emotion. And as we await the return of football, who knows when, one thing I don't want to see is games being played behind closed doors, because that takes the soul away from football. And whether these people were in the stadium or not, the fact there was a crowd in there creating an atmosphere, being part of it, living and breathing it, enjoying it with the players, surely was such a vital part of an amazing day. Anyway, here's a story of 93-20 told by some of the fans. And of course, Nigel Gleghorn.
Beautiful day for a game of football. It was absolutely immaculate. The pitch looked fantastic. The ground was absolutely bathed in sunlight. Fans in shirt sleeves, mainly with City shirts on. So scene was set.
I can remember the nervousness sort of creeping in quite early, really. Yeah, I think obviously the longer we went without scoring, the more nervous it was obviously going to become.
We've been majestic, we've been fantastic. We'd seen us go to Spurs and win 5-1. We'd seen us beat United 6-1 away from home at Old Trafford. We'd seen loads of amazing football matches. We'd seen us beat Newcastle away in the lead up to this game, and it was amazing. And we just had a really good feeling about the day.
I was at home watching on my laptop, building up to the game. Of course I was very, very nervous, to be honest with you, like any other City fan would. But also I still feel confident that we'll be able to get the job done. And it was all nail-biting moments in the first couple of minutes, and then Zabaleta, coming up with the goods.
We've been season ticket holders now for the last 6 years, but we were still on a waiting list for a season ticket in 2012. And even though we'd been able to get a ticket for the FA Cup final in 2011, we hadn't got one for the QPR game. So I was in South Wales with my brother. I actually live about 200 miles from him now, but I was down there to watch the game, and it was, well, we were lucky, weren't we, in many ways, in that we witnessed the finest end to a Premier League season you're ever going to see.
Agony, ecstasy, pandemonium, almost anticlimactic and ironic. A City fan all my life, would go to 15-20 games every season and would never ever miss a live game. If I didn't get to go to Main Road or the Etihad, I'd have to see it on the TV and radio. Ironically, I was in rural outback Australia for 93-20 day, a chicken chaser working as a backpacker. That's a separate story. And on the day itself, I spent several $100s on an old school internet dongle stick just to be able to watch the game. And the only place on this rural farm I could watch it was underneath the kitchen sink, with the cockroaches and mice and everything else.
My 93-20 story was here in New York, at my home just outside New York City. The game obviously was covered by the major TV rights over here, so on that day I was at home, a sunny bright morning, Sunday morning, and the kickoff was here local time 10 o'clock, so we had breakfast as a family, and a 4-year-old son at the time and 1-year-old daughter sat down to watch the game in our sky blue City shirts in our living room, cheering on the Blues. Anyway, it got off to a great start. Zaba scored just before half time.
At the time, I was working for Nike in the Netherlands, and on the Monday morning before the game, we received an email saying that Dennis Irwin would be bringing the Premier League trophy to the Nike campus in Hilversum for a Q&A session. It was Dennis Irwin and one or two other people from Manchester United, and on a pedestal at the front of the room was the Premier League trophy. So as I sat down, I took off my jacket with my City shirt on underneath, and one of the young ladies from Manchester United looked at me and just said, "Well, what are you doing here?" So I said, well, being as cheeky as I am, I said, I'm here for the handover ceremony. At which I got, some very strange looks.
Blue skies, really warm day. It all had the makings of City to win their first title for 44 years. I remember being super excited, and it all started off fantastic. Zabaleta put us 1-0 up. I was thinking at the time, surely, this would be it. This was our time. Let's do this. So 1-0 came around, half time. We hadn't scored any more goals. And City are thinking, it's only 1-0. Again, as you do as a City fan, even though times have changed, better team, world-class players, you're still thinking, something's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong.
Often the script doesn't quite go to what you'd expect. And what happened, what followed, was probably typical City, as I've been in that sort of situation myself with City at Main Road when we were 3-0 up against Bournemouth. The script didn't quite go that way with a draw. And all of a sudden, City found ourselves 2-1 down. My word, where did that come from? QPR had 2 shots all game and probably 2 entries into the attacking third.
But then in typical City fashion, we kind of blew it, didn't we? We kind of made a right mess of it.
Them 2 goals by Cisse, and then with about 20 minutes to go, Mackie. And I thought, oh, shit. And I was starting to think, we're going to let this slip, And we got to about 88 minutes, and I received another email from my son in Newcastle, and he said, "Don't worry, Dad. It's only football. It's only a game. It'll all be all right." And I knew he didn't mean it, and it didn't make me feel any better at all.
When it took a nasty turn, when Cisse scored off the back of Lescott's mistake, then we started to get a feeling that things weren't going to go to plan, and even though we believed in the boys that things were just going to take a turn for the worst. Not lying to you, being 100% truthful. I asked Joel this all the time. Did you know QPR were going to go 2-1 up? And we always say to each other, yeah. And the pure fact was, or shall I say the reason why was, because it just had that feeling about it, and there's no other way to describe it. When Traore was running down the left-hand side with a ball, even before he crossed it, you could see Mackie arriving from where we were both sat, and you just knew that he was going to be the man to head it home and put them 2-1 up.
Then I felt maybe it wasn't meant to be, choking at the last moment.
I thought, oh, here we go. I can't believe this. This is City. We can't do it the easy way, can we? But deep down, I felt, I still felt positive. An eternal optimism roots within me. So I felt we had enough talent again in the last 20 minutes to create 2 chances. And if we got one, I was confident we'd get a second. So which would have been our third. So, I sat down patiently, willing the boys on, and as we know, that door in my mind of doubt started to creep in and open up as we got closer and closer to the end. And then Balotelli brought a brilliant, stunning save out of Kenny, which I thought to myself, here we go, it's going to be one of those days.
I'm thinking this is typical City. Absolute typical City. They dangle it under our noses every single time. They give us that hope, and then it's taken away. And I remember clearly sitting in my seat looking at the clock, and it was 89 minutes 30 seconds on the clock, thinking to myself, well, I'm going to look like a right muppet when I get into the office tomorrow. And then of course we get the corner.
We tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. After 4 corners or 3 corners, whatever it was, Edin Dzeko puts it in the back of the net, and then it's game on.
I watched the game while it cut out repeatedly, to the point that Edin Dzeko's goal, it cut out just as a corner came in, and it came back on just at the end of Dzeko's name being screamed. Cue me banging my head off the underneath of the kitchen sink for the umpteenth time.
Quite actually distinctly remember looking round and seeing a friend of mine, Sharif, who's a Melbourne born and bred lad who started following City when Danny Tiato signed for us, so certainly wasn't a glory hunter. And he was crying actually. We were losing 2-1 and we got that corner, and he was sort of gently weeping to himself. And obviously we got the corner and we equalised. I didn't move when we equalised, I must say. Pretty much like when Orlok scored at Wembley against Gillingham. I thought, you buggers, you've sort of got us to that point and then stopped. You know, got us so it makes it worse because we've got even closer.
And a glimmer of hope flooded in, and I thought we'd probably get one more chance, and a good chance if we used our brain and our quality that we had.
Nearly there, and they're just rubbing our noses in it now. And then, of course, that moment happened when Balotelli fell on his backside, slipped the ball through to Sergio, and there was that split second. Even if you watch it on video, there was almost a split second of absolute disbelief.
Along comes Aguero, up comes Aguero, and he scores. Aguero. I'm leaping round the house. I'm in the house all on my own. Apart from the dogs, they think I've gone absolutely crazy mad. I'm running around, Aguero, yes. I'm out the door, I'm running around the garden, Aguero, yes.
When Aguero scored, cue pandemonium. Telepathically I ran out the building, swung my jersey around my head onto the Great Northern Highway and rural back out Australia. What a day. Amazing.
I don't remember the goal going in. I was in the ground. I was sat in my usual seat next to my parents. I remember 20 minutes out, crying, thinking, classic City, not going to happen. I remember watching us lift the trophy. I remember all the celebrations. But the exact moment that Aguero's shot went in, I just have a memory blank. Luckily, it's probably the most well-documented Premier League game of all time. So I've got plenty of opportunities to watch that moment back from all the various angles and hear about it from other people as well. But yeah, my memory, gone.
I know, everybody knows. Sergio stepped up, played the 1-2 with Balotelli, puts the ball past Paddy Kenny, and it was majestic in that stadium. There's no other way to describe it. It was the best feeling I've ever felt at any single moment in my life. The way I felt was just, it's a blur. I remember it in the back of the net. I remember celebrating for about a second or two. And then for the next minute and a half, I can't remember what happened. I was kissing people, headbutting them, hugging them. I was kissing people's heads. We were hugging each other. They were throwing me about. I was being pushed, punched, shoved.
But when that goal went in, unfortunately, your 44 years of waiting was over. Or fortunately, your 44 years of waiting was over. But unfortunately, because you wouldn't give us a big hug, I jumped up and took us off air because I took all the stuff with us, earphones, the lot. I had no one to celebrate with, so I had to celebrate with myself and jumped up. Total professionally were though, Ian. You carried on your commentary, you got it all put back together and then completed what was a momentous day for Manchester City.
Well, that's Nigel telling his version of what happened. I'll tell you what happened from my point of view. I was in full flow, commentating on the build-up to that goal. United had finished, and I got told that in my headphones, and then I noticed Mark Hughes, who was the manager of QPR, jumping up and down on the touchline, and I thought, that's got to mean that the Bolton game at Stoke's finished and QPR is safe. And I said in my commentary, I wish I could play it to you on here, but I said in my commentary, I think QPR is safe, so I wonder what can happen now. And then at that point, Sergio Aguero scores the goal. Nigel went absolutely bonkers. He was jumping about everywhere. He had, as he said, all of the equipment still attached to him. It went all over the floor. And while you were all celebrating, I was on the floor picking the bits up and thinking, no, it's got to go back together again. 45 seconds we were off air. It felt like forever. I got it back together again. I'm back, get me back on air. And as I pulled me back up to my feet with my hand around Nigel's neck, thinking, you've spoiled the moment. the fans and the players were still celebrating, and we went on, of course, to conclude the game.
I've got the commentary in my head at the moment, and I just remember being on the pitch. I remember jumping around and not being able to breathe, and then the next moment I just remember running around on the pitch. It was crazy. I don't know how I got on the pitch. I don't even remember planning to go on the pitch or anything. It just seemed to happen.
Yeah, grown men crying, and it was just absolute chaos. Never seen anything like it before or since, really. Just all those years of disappointment and hurt and everything else, and obviously the fact we did it so late and we stopped them winning it as well was just obviously something that you'll never forget, and you'll never forget where you were, really.
So I've gone home as an 18-year-old after that game, and the first thing I did was get a permanent marker and draw out the goals on it, and literally I wrote Aguero with the way that the goal happened, of Dzeko, the corner and the header, and Zabaletta's goal obviously into the top corner where Kenny spilled it, and it says Champions 11-12 on it. So that's my own personalised picture that I've had all my life nearly. And these are the shoes that I had on that day. These have been on the pitch. They ran on the pitch. These, obviously naughty me, ran on the pitch, but these are the ones. Obviously that's not the same dirt. They're the same laces. They're the same shoes. Reebok 3D Ultralights. They were on the pitch with me, and they've been on the pitch in 11-12. So yeah, they were the shoes I had on that day. I've actually still got them, and I wear them to City games even now. Obviously you got a picture of Vinny up here lifting the trophy next to Sammy. Obviously you can see Nige there as well. Costel Pontilimon, let's not forget his involvement that season.
I didn't run onto the pitch, but the just sheer elation of that minute and that goal will just live with me forever. And even when I watch it now, when I watch the video of that day, I still get goosebumps. I still get a lump in the throat of that absolute moment of joy and elation.
It was like being in an apocalypse film, because we were all shell shocked. We didn't really know how to react, what to do, what to say. I still couldn't breathe. And this police officer stood next to us. We see every game. He's on the seg line. He sees us every game, and he just came up to me and patted me and said, "Well done, fantastic that." I said, "Oh, thanks very much," and and all niceties and stuff. And he said, "Oh," he said, "You've made my day." He said, "Watching you get on that pitch was unbelievable." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well," he said, "I didn't realise for such a little fat bloke that you could move. You could move so well." He said, you managed to run past 3 stewards. He said, and then the best bit was the old comedy tap on the shoulder, and he looked over the shoulder and he ran the other way. He said it was just so funny watching you. He said, and there was no way that we were going to stop you all, because it was so good intentioned and light-hearted, and it was amazing. It was amazing. You were going up to the QPR fans, shaking their hands, and they were singing, and it was just an amazing day.
They don't come along like that, and they're often very sweet when they do come with the last kick of the game. But I would say just give our hearts a bit of a rest and do it with 10 minutes to go or something like that next time.
No matter how many times I try and relive it, I don't think I'll ever be able to replicate how I felt, what I did, what we all did that day. And the journey home was one of the finest journeys home from any game ever. Me and Joel went to the shop as 18-year-olds, knowing that we could now legally drink. We got a couple of bottles of Budweiser. We went back to his and we watched it all back, all over again, and celebrated it. That season was one of the most magical seasons ever. The closest goal to that Sergio one is Vinny's last season. It was on a level with it in terms of elation, but it wasn't actually as magic as it. It was just, that Sergio one lives long in the memory, and I'll never, ever, ever see anything like it ever again.
That day, I was on the pitch and saw the great Vincent Kompany there, of course, and I cheekily asked him for his captain's armband, which I still have to this day. But what an amazing day that was. I hope you enjoyed the video of 93-20, and next week the plan will be to look back on the playoff final, when City had been down to the lowest ever ebb and then came back with that victory against Gillingham. Keep safe, keep your distance, we'll get through this. It's great to be a Blue, isn't it?
As always, Ian, it was and still is great being a Blue.
Well, it's never been better being a Blue than on that day when I eventually held the trophy with Vincent Company holding his medal and wearing his captain's armband. Big shout out to the 3 companies that have supported the products that I put out under the Forever Blue title throughout the year, the podcast and the vlogs. See you all soon.